We all know Bethesda Game Studios and their amazing works on games like Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, but time has not been kind to these games and the other games that Bethesda Game Studios has made. And it hasn't been kind to the games that they're continuing to make either. In fact, Bethesda Game Studios games tend to not age very well. I can't name one Bethesda game that hasn't aged poorly, to be fair. And as gaming evolves and becomes more and more smooth, streamlined and realistic almost, Bethesda just cannot seem to keep up. Now, I believe Todd Howard stated that Starfield and The Elder Scrolls 6 will rely on the same engine but evolved more, and will not have a new engine, which this studio desperately needs to consider doing. Because Bethesda Game Studios have been clinging to the same engine that they've used for donkey's years. The creation engine, which isn't too dissimilar to what they used before, which was Gamebryo for games like Morrowind and Oblivion. Now that engine is probably older than I am, if not then it nearly is. Either way, the creation engine which is currently in use, which was used for Fallout 76 for example, is based off of this old model. At this point the creation engine is nothing more than a liability. It's outstayed its welcome. And it's like a Morris Minor trying to drag race an Aston Martin. As I've mentioned, the latest example of why this engine needs to go is Fallout 76, and before it Fallout 4. Frankly, the engine started to show its cracks back in the days of Skyrim. I mean, Skyrim is a golden game nonetheless, but if you say that that game's not broken or clunky at times, then you're clearly not paying enough attention. Anyways, Fallout 4 ran fine, but by the time Fallout 4 came around, the engine was definitely lacking something that kept it back from the same lap as other games that launched in 2015, such as The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, which as you can see uses an engine that runs laps around Fallout 4, and even Bethesda Game Studios' most recent release, Fallout 76. I've only been playing this game for a few hours and I can't say much about how the game is doing as an experience because really I'm not too into it and the game is giving me no reason to be that way. But the cracks of the game engine are clearly holding this game back from other games that released this year such as God of War, Red Dead Redemption 2, and dare I say it, even Assassin's Creed Odyssey doesn't have the foundational problems this game has. It doesn't take much experience with Bethesda Game Studios' latest release to tell that the game is severely lacking in its fundamental gameplay and graphical elements. Details are shabby, gameplay is clunky, and there are glitches and bugs spewing out of my screen when I play it. This is likely because when you combine an old engine with the new nick of paint, things get a bit weird. Sorry, that's disgusting. Ugh, render in for fuck's sake. Oh, look at it. Oh, fuck. So how old is this engine exactly? Well, it's based on the engine that was used for The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, which came out in 2002. Which makes it 16 years old now. At the very least, it's probably older. And we all know how Morrowind looked.
You Inwa.
Back to the present, and Bethesda Game Studios cling to this poorly aged engine like a rich uncle with a death grip on his 1977 Jaguar XJ6. I'm using a lot of old car analogies here, but the point here is, it's not too dissimilar when talking about game engines. Just like with cars, age doesn't treat game engines very well. They age, and though you can modify and upgrade them, there's only so far out before the performance drops overpower any potential improvements you can make. And the result isn't pretty and doesn't keep in the same league as other games of the day. You can upgrade an old car, but there will always be a better new one. And as much as I love the engine and the concept going in the Elder Scrolls and the Fallout series, it's old. It's just the hard truth. And now it's well beyond stagnation. Now you can try to rejuvenate it by upgrading old parts and things like that, but the surest way, the best way would be to get a new engine entirely. Now I do understand one reason why they might want to cling to the creation engine. The modding community understands it, the developers know how to use it, and all in all I can imagine it makes for an easier production process. However, the game just doesn't hold up at the end of it. Now I can imagine that transition being quite difficult and it might delay a few games by a couple years or whatever, but so be it. At the end of the day, it would make a better game. A more modern game. Something that holds up in the day it was released. So I think if Bethesda Game Studios invested in making a new engine, then it would be worth it. But unfortunately they probably won't do that. The engine is visibly a liability now, it's not going to work wonders, and it will severely hold the games back, as Fallout 76 has shown us. Just imagine how rejuvenated Bethesda Game Studios games would be if they actually invested in a new modern engine and actually kept up with modern gaming. it'd be fantastic, and it would make the hype for games like Starfield or inevitably The Elder Scrolls 6 a lot less like a dreadful wait where you worry that the engine might really fall through the floorboards this time. But Todd Howard did state that the creation engine would be used for both Starfield and The Elder Scrolls 6, however they would modify it a bit. Now those alterations better be a bloody miracle. And you know, it's one of my biggest concerns for any Bethesda game studio's experience going forward. This engine. It's showing us just how poorly aged it is in Fallout 76, and Bethesda intend to use it in Starfield and The Elder Scrolls 6. That's really concerning. Apologies there. I did not mean to sound like a psychiatrist talking to an autistic kid's mother. I miss the days where these games would be an assured magical experience like Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 3 or New Vegas. It's just not anymore, and this is why. So my conclusion is that the creation engine needs to go. As we've gone over in this video, it's dated and it's holding Bethesda Game Studios back. But anyways, you're going to have to let me know what you think about all this down in the comments section. But thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, share the channel with your friends and all that wonderful stuff. And I'll see you all very soon with another video at some point.